In what ways does your magazine use, develop and challenge real media conventions? The term magazine convention is a very general term because it is an entire nerve centre of data and rules within publishing. These can vary within the genres of magazine. For example, within music magazines, where the reader has to ultimately believe and associate themselves with the magazine itself. The wonder about a music magazine is the sense of identity it brings along with it. With so many stereotypes and cults in today's music magazine society, music magazines are there to make the reader feel inclusive and build a sense of reader loyalty. However, with so many magazines out there, and all with their own unique target audience, it is difficult to challenge media conventions and find something completely new. This is when I decided to create a magazine that is entirely aimed at a female audience, because my NME reader profile showed a male readership was completely overpowering the readership of women, and brought me into wondering why this was. After doing some research into women's magazines such as Glamour, Look and Heat, I discovered that they all take on impersonal, chatty, light-hearted personas, which would explain why the analytical and sometimes quite formal layout of music magazines such as Q may not appeal to a female market. It can also be explained in psychological terms, where it is suggested that men prefer non-fictional information that is predominantly clear and black and white, whereas women prefer to look around the topic, speculate, hear the thoughts and opinions of others before coming to a conclusion. I knew that I wanted to take off with my appeal to women. I would have to make it relate to the magazine format that was already familiar to them, such as large images, clear headlines and neat columns, which were all very clean and tidy looking. For my cover, I used a traditional magazine convention. I used thick deco for my logo via Photoshop to construct my masthead. I filled the box with colour and wrote across Bebop over the top. I stuck to the colours purple, black and white, but my preliminary task showed me that in order to make a magazine cover look visually attractive, the colours needed to blend in well with the picture. I also planned to change the colours along with different issues to constantly catch the reader's eye, so that they will never have a fixed image of what the magazine is going to look like. Because my aim was to keep it very simple and clean, I was going to completely steer clear of the characteristics of magazines such as Kerrang! As my research showed, 80% of the women I interviewed were intimidated by the angry, rebellious image of music magazines such as Kerrang! My masthead could be compared to that of Q magazine, as the lettering in it is just in a coloured box. However, the lettering on my piece is coming out of the box just a little, which suggests to my readers that my magazine is maybe a little bit edgy and doesn't fit in with the usual expectations of a music magazine. The lettering too is also quite bold, but very plain and bubbly, which I thought might represent the liveliness and eclectic personality of my readers. I used Bebop as the name for my magazine because I thought it had a nice ring to it, and even though that Bebop is related to a song produced in the 1950s, it related back to an era where young people went out dancing and loved listening to live music, much like my readers today. 1950s fashion is also high in the spotlight for many women, particularly if they follow fashion. I think that the name would then link in with the era through the fashion and the cultural norms of what they did back then, and it would be considered cool, instantly making my magazine of a higher status. I pretty much use conventional format throughout, which I think cannot really be played with no matter how complex or simple a magazine is. The bottom line is that they roughly follow the same layout. Front page with a masthead at the top, writing around the persona, and then a contents page. Sometimes with an editor's letter is usually informal, as the editor wants the reader to see the voice behind the magazine and that they're a real person just like them. I'm also developing magazine conventions because I will use many of the same acts as those in NME, folk, indie and unsigned acts. However, I will really focus on female empowerment within the magazine. I recognise that through looking at Glamour magazine for the past year, that a female face has appeared on the front of every magazine cover and that it is a symbol of power and can act as a role model for many of my readers to aspire to. I used Alice Barnard, my main act in my magazine, to show this. In the picture she had a strong face, which shows that she's powerful, also a slight smile though to show that she's approachable and friendly. I also wanted to relate to my readers through hair and makeup, which I displayed on the contents page. This appeals to my readers as they are women and would take notice of clothes and visual elements of the persona more. I would have also developed, had this been a real magazine, the digital media aspect, which I consider a vital part of the upcoming development in modern media. I would have been able to communicate with my readers via Twitter and Facebook, so that my readers got an insight into behind the scenes with photos and statuses where they can find out up-to-date information at the touch of the button, whilst also keeping us in touch and give us the ability to communicate with our readers easily. I would have embraced YouTube by adding videos of interviews and photo shoots, and possibly past gigs. I may even have produced a blog where readers can find out upcoming events and the news